Hello and welcome to another episode of the WCPW Roundtable. I am New Adam from What Culture, joined as always by the Head of Talent Relations, James Dixon, and the General Manager of WCPW. Guys, over the weekend we saw two amazing qualifiers for the Pro Wrestling World Cup. The American qualifiers on Friday night, the rest of the world qualifiers on Saturday night. What did you make of the shows, first of all?
I really enjoyed them. I was running around like a blue-ass fly filming promos for much of the rest of the world show, so I didn't see that much of it. I saw the semi-finals, which are excellent, and we can't really talk, or we can talk about because the shows are out, of course. But I managed to see quite a lot of the US qualifier, and I thought it was stupendous. Genuinely some of the best matches we've put on as a company, I think. Really strong stuff. We now know who's going through, which fills up the final 16. I'm really happy with them as shows.
James, how was it for you?
Hard work. Logistically, having so many guys from a different country to ferry around the country for two shows is a challenge, but you know, it was pretty good. Ultimately, everyone was really good. Everyone was really willing to work hard and put in the best performances possible, and everyone got the concept of what we're doing here. Yeah, we're really happy with it. It came out very well.
Speaking of hard work, I counted, and because not only with like all the individual rest of the world talking heads, but because Loaded is back now, and much of this, both these shows are being repurposed as episodes of Loaded. Over the 2 days, I shot 26 promos. So
new record. Right?
Thanks everybody. Thanks this company.
Let's wait till August.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Oh God.
Well, let's start with the USA qualifiers, which of course went online on Friday night. Even the first round matches got a lot of people excited, of course. I think we mentioned a bit of this in the bracket cast, that we could have just picked a few big names for the qualifiers, and then it might have been slightly obvious perhaps who was going through, but also it would have been a case of saving the company a bit of money, but also not making it that exciting for what is effectively a qualifier. But I mean, a stacked card.
Traditionally speaking, when you do a tournament, you sort of like the first round is made up of half good guys and half guys who are there to fill out like the first round, like the Cruiserweight Classic, for example, and this and the other. But genuinely, every match, it was hard to decide who was going through each one, which makes for I think a more exciting show overall.
It was unpredictable, wasn't it? I mean, we had that problem in the bracket cast. We were like, well, it could be, but actually it could be this guy. I mean, we thought James Storm was going to go right the way through and probably maybe reach the semi-finals of the tournament proper, and he went out first round. So it shows what we know. But, so yeah, I agree with you completely. I think every match was completely different. Something unpredictable, you know. It was like nobody knew who was going through, and I think that element of uncertainty really makes it interesting.
Yeah, and you talk about the variety. The first two, not first two, but like two of the matches, just looking down this piece of paper, Matt Sydal and Ricochet and Jay Lethal and Moose, like incredibly different styles of match. But the athleticism, I think, was just off the charts.
I mean, Lethal Moose was the match of the round for me. I mean, we've used both guys a couple of times before, so we know what we're getting with them. But I don't think anyone, even with that in mind, expected the match that we'd get from those two. It was off the chart.
I think when you have a chant that's as simple as Moose, I think people kind of can forget that there is a world-class wrestler underneath it. And like Moose, I think it's his best match for us by a distance.
Yeah.
And
he works so hard.
Yeah.
You know, he works so hard, and I mean, he gave Lethal everything, and like it was so good. I was awed watching that match.
I didn't get to see that match live. I was backstage with Simon Miller doing the interviews, and I got to interview Moose pretty much straight after he got back into the dressing room.
Is this before or after you apologised?
Explain what happened.
Please.
Explain how you were ribbed.
I can't believe you brought this up. I suppose, I in a way, I do kind of appreciate it, because I now feel
one of the boys.
Yeah, and sort of brought in our general manager, lovely man that he is, welcoming man that he is, told me that he just took me to one side and said, "It's a bit of a." What was it you said? How in tune are you with wrestling traditions or something like that?
Wrestling etiquette.
Wrestling etiquette, that was the word I was looking for. And I said, well, I've got a vague idea. And he said, well, one thing you might not know is it's a good idea to go up to someone when you take their spot and apologise to them for it. And even though I'm sure it doesn't really matter.
Because Simon had been doing the backstage interviews.
Because Simon had been doing the interviews and him and I were sharing them tonight. And obviously I did all of them at the rest of the world qualifiers, and I've done some previously as well. You said it's generally nice to go up to the person whose spot you've taken and say, sorry about taking your spot. Not that I've taken Simon's spot whatsoever, by the way. They've just asked me to do it. And you also said, which I didn't completely follow through on, you said, make sure you do it in front of all the boys as well. You said, I'm sure Simon won't really care, but it's just, a nice thing to do. And I thought when you said it at the time, I think this is a rib. But it's one of those ribs when you think, if I don't do this, but I thought if I don't do this, especially with someone as lovely as Simon Miller, and he does, take it to heart, and it's something that actually does happen, then the one person I don't want to annoy is Simon Miller.
Well, and because he's jacked.
Yes, that also was an additional thing. And the moment I said it to him, how
did you phrase it, just out of interest?
Well, so I went up to him, and I very quickly said hello when he arrived, but I hadn't really got to speak to him, and I'd been emailing him beforehand to organise the interviews, and I went over and I said, hi, Simon. And he's, like you say, he's a big guy.
Yeah.
And he went, oh, hello, mate. Nice to finally meet you. And I thought, right, I'm just going to get it out of the way straight away. And I went, yeah, nice to meet you too. And this is, I just want to say, really, really sorry about taking your spot. It's and sort of stumbled even more than that. And you know what they look on? Then you see the look on someone's face, and you immediately go, they've got me there. Because his face, I've never seen Simon make this face before in any of his ups and downs. He just went like that, and I went, And then I sort of
me and Cleary were watching you, just being like,
continued the conversation with him. Went and helped set up a bit more, and you came over. Did you do it? Yeah. And that was when I knew. And then I had to have another conversation with Simon and basically saying, hi, Simon, just to let you know, I'm not really weird. It was our general manager that put me up to that. So, yeah.
Tell you who I really liked in the qualifier. Genuinely proud. I think it's going to introduce him to a lot of people, especially our crowd. Like a lot of people, when we announced him, didn't know who he was. But Keith Lee.
Yes.
Keith Lee, at the end of the night, I went up to him and I just said, don't tell anyone, but you're my new favourite wrestler, because I think he's brilliant.
What a mark.
He's brilliant.
No, he is. He is brilliant.
I think he's fantastic.
I mean, he had a tough task on, replacing Cody, who's so popular here and so well known. Perhaps the most well-known guy who would have been in the bracket.
But spoilers, him and Ricochet burnt that main event down.
I mean, it was, for us, that was a big thing to put Keith in the main event, when we knew a lot of the audience probably weren't that familiar with his work. Obviously, they know Ricochet, but it was, is that the right move? We did go back and forth on it, and I think it was absolutely justified in the end. Like, that match was... It's up there with some of the best we've ever done, I think.
I think so. Like a lot of the fans were expecting James Storm to go through.
So were we.
As we were in the bracket cast.
Yeah. And it was like, and there was like a sense of like, oh, really? Is that a mistake? But then the main event was just...
Yeah, they got it. Like, because they weren't, in terms of being behind the matches, they were behind Storm and Keith, for sure, but not fully like they were with some of the other matches. Because, as we've said, they weren't hugely familiar with Keith's work. But after seeing him in that, and then seeing him against Ricochet, and then the first couple of minutes when they saw what he could do even more with an opponent who was perfect for him, really, yeah, it was tremendous. And the crowd absolutely loved him by the end of it.
I think
desperate for him to come back.
The first round matches, I think, Seidel and Ricochet and Lethal and Moose, it was pretty much a toss-up. I think the other two, if people were betting, you would assume that they'd go for the opposites to what happened. Like you say, you'd assume they'd go Storm over Lee, and probably, I don't know, you would assume they'd say Bobby Fish just because he's in NXT, but then again, they might say, well, he's in NXT, so he's not. But who knows?
Right.
So yeah, I was shocked with both of those results. Davey Starr going through, and obviously Keith Lee. And I didn't see the Storm Lee match live, but... I mean, when I saw Keith Lee, because I'd seen him backstage, but when I saw him stand in that ring against Ricochet, I thought, what's going to happen here?
Like, I think Keith Lee's really got, like, it. He was, like, interviewing him before the match. dude's charismatic as hell. Like, genuinely, there's something a little bit spellbinding about the way he talks. He just has that smoothness of delivery, which obviously I would recognise. And I genuinely think like he's going to go mega far. Proper, like...
Probably, you'd think so. I mean, unless he gets reduced to painting his face and putting moons on his belly.
God, he better not. He's a big guy who does what big guys shouldn't be able to do.
Yeah, he's impressive.
Because
for sure he is.
I hadn't seen Keith Lee properly before, certainly not in the flesh, and backstage, obviously, all the guys are sort of milling about, and the majority of the time that I saw Keith, he was just sat down. So I just thought, you assume maybe he's got an injury, maybe he's just saving himself for the match. Who knows? But he's not as animated maybe as some other people are backstage.
No.
And then you saw him go out and do what he could do especially against Ricochet, and I was astounded. And as were the crowd looking.
For people who haven't seen the match, and you should, but Keith Lee keeps up with Ricochet.
Yeah,
doing things that Ricochet does. So, like, if you can even imagine that, like, how can you not want to see a 350-pound guy working in that style? It's phenomenal. It's unlike anything you see. I mean, I will say during the match, the first match especially, I did see him hit the ropes and the ring post went each time and moved. And I was like, that's promising. So this is match 3 of 11, mind. And I was just like, I talked to the ring guys, just like, look, that post, what's the story there? He's like, yep, well, you get that kind of weight in the ring and the momentum as well. The ring weighs like 1.5 tons. So you got to think the weight of those two plus the momentum and everything. It's not that far off.
I was legit terrified during, and it's not airing. It hasn't aired yet. It will air during a loaded episode. But when War Machine faced off against Kings of the North, they were doing again stuff that Ricochet does on the ropes, and it was just like, oh Jesus Christ.
Yeah. There was a bit where Keith Lee, there's several moments where Keith Lee threw Ricochet. I think the crowd demanded one more than there was probably going to be.
Brushed the ceiling.
Ridiculous. I genuinely thought, if on our hard cam, is this going out of shot, basically?
Remember, I think that maybe explain that the hard cam's on a scaffold.
Yes.
About 10 foot plus up in the air. So, yeah, I mean, I think we're all enamoured with Keith Lee.
Yeah.
He was great. And I hope we bring him back at some point.
And I really liked David Starr. I met him, and he was lovely to chat to first and foremost, but also a great match.
Yeah.
He's an entertainer. Like, I think when... It's weird. When the very first time we used David Starr, it was a Rev Pro guest match with Marty Scurll in Newcastle. And a lot of the guys here didn't know who he was, weren't massively familiar with his work. And by the end of it, and the same applies for the crowd as well. Like, absolutely. Came out and it was a bit like, oh, good. By the end of the match, it was a standing ovation, people chanting, please come back to him. So we brought him back a couple of times and everyone became a fan of him. And I think in the World Cup and in the other stuff he did for us this time, he was so entertaining. He showed a different... Every time he's here, he shows a slightly different side to him, like what he can do. He's a complete entertainer in many, many ways, and he's so smooth, he's so crisp, he's so good. He's a great guy. I'm glad he went through. I'm glad to see him twice,
Yeah, absolutely.
And his match against Lethal... Another great match. I mean, obviously, you'd sort of say Keith Lee against Ricochet was the one that people go home and remember, but let's not forget Lethal against Starr.
Not at all. I mean, it's. I think the only reason why I talk about it in such higher terms is just because I don't think anyone was expecting it. Like, you expect excellence out of a match like David Starr versus Jay Lethal. Like that, you just know you're getting something great there. Whereas Keith Lee, for a lot of people, was like an unexpected commodity.
Yeah, I mean, I think going in, everyone was expecting the match of the tournament or the match of the night to be Ricochet and Matt Sydal. Now, it was really good. It was really good. Sydal's injured.
Yeah, I was going to say, considering that.
So considering that, it was phenomenal.
He separated his shoulder, 2 weeks? 2-3 weeks ago?
Yeah, and to his credit, he was like, look, I'll still be there. I'll still be doing the show. I'll still do everything I can. And he did, and he went above and beyond.
Oh, yeah.
And I think anyone who came to see him would have got what they wanted.
Absolutely.
But in terms of what I think maybe the audience was expecting, it probably wasn't quite that match. it's funny because we talked about it on the bracket cast. You know, we're talking about it's going to be this great high fly match of all time, and then we joked, oh well, they might just go out and like do some technical wrestling and not really do anything else. Well, it was kind of like that.
Yeah,
you know, they went out and had a bit of a brawl. Really, it was a bit of a smash mouth match, but it was really good. Just completely different to what you'd expect.
And we'll talk in a little while about what this means about who they've got in the actual World Cup. But let's move on to the rest of the world qualifier, which of course was on Saturday night. Right. As you say, varied contestants from all over the place, basically, and some really interesting matchups. Travis Banks, Mark Davis, Australia against New Zealand, as it effectively boiled down to, was great, and some stars that a number of people I know may not have seen before, but now, like, I'd never seen Angelico, and I'm a huge fan of his, and Flash Morgan Webster.
Yep.
So let's start off with Travis versus Mark Davis, and we'll get onto those later on, because Travis Banks is a very well-known name now, but Mark Davis took him to a great match as well.
Absolutely. For much, like, I didn't see much of the first round matches. I came back in towards the end of RJ Singh versus Flash Morgan Webster, backstage filming promos. But
I mean, obviously, you can't give a live perspective. You can give the same sort of perspective of watching them on TV that everyone at home can give, you know.
Oh, sure.
You know, we've all seen them on telly, but in terms of the live aspect of it, like Banks and Davis was really good, really strong, really fast sprint of a match. Davis does this spot, and I don't know if you caught this while we were at the show, but
the pile driver,
pile driver thing. Yeah, I mean, he's got Travis on his hands and knees, and he just sort of flicks him up and just catches him in this pile drive, and it's the damnedest thing I've ever seen. It's amazing. I saw him do it on I think Kid Lycos, and I think it was an Attack.
Yes, I think it was Attack.
And it was just, I saw a gif of it on Twitter. I was just like, man, I hope he does that. And I didn't think he'd be able to do it on anyone much bigger than, because Kid Lycos is like 60 pounds or something.
I wish I'd been
amazing, man.
The thing is, I wish I'd been in the room to see it live.
Yeah.
Just to hear the crowd kind of.
So did you miss most of these live?
Live, yeah,
the first round?
Yeah. Again, I was gutted. I missed Jørn Simmons' first match, just because when I came back into the room later, Simmons was over like Rover. Yeah. Like, he was possibly the most over guy in that qualifier, which is surprising because obviously the crowd is so used to Travis Banks and obviously Angelico and the indie guys, big fans of Flash Morgan Webster and RJ Singh.
Sure.
So, but yeah, like Jørn Simmons was.
He looks like someone from transplanted from Game of Thrones
into
a wrestling ring.
Not my joke, but he looks like the final Pokemon evolution of Ben Potter.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he does actually.
I think he's Ben Potter's dad.
I think we might need to do some sort of transformation image.
Yeah, sure, stick that at the bottom.
Whiz kids can do that. Angelico and Hikaris, yeah, it was good. You know, two guys unfamiliar with each other, kind of match you'd never see anywhere else. So it's very unique in that sense. I think Hikaris was impressive. You know, it's probably the biggest stage he's been on, I would expect. RJ and Flash was really good, you know, just bam, 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 fast-paced, zippy, back and forth.
Yeah, and lots of stuff in them.
Lots of stuff.
I didn't catch a lot of this. I was saying we were doing quite a lot of stuff backstage, but the bits that I saw or the bits that I caught, there was just a lot of like trash talking mid-match between the two of them. So
I mean, they're very familiar with each other.
Exactly.
Like, you've got like Travis Banks and Mark Davis, obviously know each other well. And then you have different, like Jørn Simmons and Tom LaRufa and Angelico and Hikaris, less so.
I don't think they'd ever been on the same shows even before that.
Which is great. It creates for an interesting sense of variety in the night.
I mean, that was what we were going for from the get-go with
the rest
of the world. And the tournament as a whole, really, you know, when you
especially
when you
the
look
final
at
16,
the finals, yeah. So, I mean, when you look at the bracket, you know, we knew it could be a challenge if we didn't get the right guys in the right places. And that a lot of people wouldn't be familiar with the majority, but we also wanted that because we want to introduce them to these new potential regular roster members. So I think it achieved that. And you know, the semi-finals I think were excellent.
Yes.
When you guys saw those,
yes,
live,
we caught
right?
those.
So
Banks.
Jump in on these.
Banks Simmons was, you know, it looks good on video. All the matches look great on video, but Banks and Simmons was properly like. It was electric. I definitely think there is something very, very. It makes sense that Simmons is such a big deal in WXW.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the athleticism that he and Banks were pulling out, like the powerbomb spot,
right?
It just ungodly strength.
Yeah, ring shaking.
Yeah. Yeah, he's excellent. And like again, like he's got a kind of very cinematic sense of showmanship. Travis Banks, like you don't even need to say that Travis Banks is one of the best wrestlers on the indie scene right now. He's doing incredibly.
Yeah, he's had a great. It's probably been his year over here in
for sure.
UK. I think it's probably been his year. I mean, he won the Progress SSS. 3 S's, right? 16 times.
Yeah, right. He's in Bola. He's challenging
Bola,
for the Progress title. He's got it all.
I mean, he did Access for WWE as well. I mean, those two guys. You've got to think that for all they love signing people that we've used. Those two guys have got to be high up on that list. I would expect. Yeah. You know, when you look at Simmons, you immediately think WWE guy. You know, the way he's built, his look, his persona, his general charisma. And Banks as well, just his incredible ability. How could you not want that kind of work rate on your shows?
No, exactly.
They probably get him in WWE as the Wildling, Jørn Simmons.
Yep, they will.
That's what's going to happen.
Wild man, Jørn Simmons.
God, can you imagine?
But I really enjoyed, obviously, Jørn Simmons, Travis Banks, but also I do want to give a big mention, because we only caught a couple of matches, but seeing Angelico, Flash Morgan Webster, I sort of knew what to expect, obviously, from two guys who can do a lot in the ring. But I was really pleasantly surprised. I think I'd seen a little bit of Angelico earlier on in the night, a very brief bit, but Flash Morgan Webster is a real favourite of mine. His story is fantastic about him coming back from such a horrific injury in the Cruiserweight Classic qualifier, and the fact that despite all that, he still does what he does in the ring, and him and Angelico were flipping all over the place, and it really seemed like both of them were desperate to get through to the World Cup finals.
Yeah,
I really
that's
enjoyed
what you want. You know, you want it to feel important. You know, because if it's important to them, it's important to the people watching.
Right.
You know, it makes the stakes bigger. But I mean, was that your favourite match of the night? Those two?
Possibly, yes, I think so. I think if you're gonna, I feel like I should give props to Flash Morgan and Angelico, because I think we've mentioned Travis and Jørn a lot.
Yeah, I think I slightly preferred Banks Simmons, but
it's more your style, I think.
I just like it when they hit each other really hard.
I know you do. I think it is interesting to point out, though, because people watching this probably don't realise that once the show starts, that's not just a case of everyone who works here at What Culture gets to sit down and, let's watch the great wrestling we've booked for ourselves because we're such marks for it.
No.
It's like, because that is the misconception, I think, for a lot of people. No, it's very different to that. There's a lot of work to be done, and we're lucky if we catch 2 or 3 of the matches, really, because there's so much more going on. I mean, do you find that a challenge?
It's a frustration more than anything. Because I prefer to see all these matches live. I think watching wrestling live is as much as presentation. You know, I think Sam does an incredible job, and I think all the crew with creating the set and everything. I think, you know, to make a TV presentation, those guys work super hard. But there's nothing that beats watching wrestling live. But you know, it's just not the situation, the circumstances of the job. There's promos to be done.
Promos to be done.
For me, as someone who does more sort of interviewy stuff, which obviously slightly longer form, obviously it's nice to get the build up and stuff like that, and possibly the immediate reaction when stuff happens. I think I'm exactly the same. I would love to be able to just, you know, when I see these announced and I go, ho, and then I suddenly go, probably won't see half of that actually. No. But it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make, just because the interviews that I do, 9 times out of 10 are after matches.
Yeah.
Like, are you in an ideal world, you go, okay, I'll turn up at 3 o'clock, grab people for an interview, and just do it. But in reality, you know, the wrestlers turn up and they have their own plan of what happens when they get there. They have to get used to this, the place that they're in. It's different each night.
In the rest of the world cases, they were meeting each other.
Exactly.
Working out. So what's your kind of style? You know?
And you know, they've got to work out what the layout's going to be, and like you say, yeah, exactly, get used to who they're going to be facing, and especially when it starts, there's almost no point in going up to any wrestler until after their match, because I kind of appreciate that.
with what they're doing.
They're so focused that I think I tried that possibly on one of the first shows that I worked, which I think was Built to Destroy, and I tried to do that. And it was one of the fastest learning curves you have in wrestling. Going up to someone at about 6:30 and saying, "Do you mind if I just borrow you for 10 minutes for an interview?" And then they don't even need to answer. It's just the look. It's just the look of.
Depends who it is as well, because sometimes that's more frightening than other times.
Absolutely, right? But then grabbing them after a match is almost better, I think, because there's a moment, especially you get to experience it backstage when they've just come back and they've got that massive adrenaline dump. I sort of leave
if it's
them.
been good as well.
Yeah, exactly. I leave them for 5 minutes because shoving a camera and a mic in their face straight after that is madness. But then you still have that, like I said, interview.
It lasts for a while.
Yeah, interviewing Moose straight afterwards, and we interviewed Angelico straight after his win.
Yeah, that's right.
Which was great. It just really comes across a lot nicer. So as much as I am gutted, and I probably am going to miss the World Cup final. I can openly admit that, but I'm happy to do that because I really do. I appreciate what they do.
I don't know. I mean, the World Cup's pretty much standalone, isn't it? It doesn't. We've done the hype now. Now to the business, I think. So.
I think hopefully I should be able to watch more of the World Cup matches.
Certainly the first round.
Yeah. Because obviously then there may be extra matches being filmed
almost
for
certainly
loaded.
there will be tapings going on amidst the other World
But
Cups.
the first night, I'm going to try and catch as much of it as I can because Jesus Christ, this card.
I think, even if you miss a few matches, you're still not going to be disappointed with pretty much any match on there now. And we sort of have mentioned all the matches in the build-up before, certainly the ones we had confirmed, but now we can speculate about this round of 16 with the matches that were just question marks on there.
3 new ones.
Yes, 3 new matches. We were wondering who was going to qualify to face Zack Sabre Jr., and it's turned... To be fair, we did mention this in the bracket cast. I called Jay Lethal. I did say Jay, even though it's a very risky one considering he hadn't qualified.
I'll have to watch that back.
Okay.
Because it sounds fanciful to me. But
I think I picked Jay Lethal going through to the semi-finals, which, having seen the quality of some of the people already, is going to be a difficult task. But anyway, Jay Lethal against Zack Sabre Jr. is the match that is now confirmed.
That's going to be brilliant.
Thoughts? James Dixon.
I mean, I'll just echo exactly what you said. It's going to be brilliant. I mean... There's no match on this card that I don't think is going to be brilliant. I think we should fly Dave Meltzer over and get all the snowflakes he has, but no, seriously, I think it'll be a really fascinating matchup. I think they're completely different stylistically, but both are able to sort of complement each other stylistically as well. I think it'd be phenomenal. It could be the match of the round in terms of pure wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it'll be very different. We've got a lot of high flyers in this first round. A new match certainly we will get to. But I think in terms of a grounded, more technical style, we're talking about 2 incredibly intelligent wrestlers with Jay Lethal and Zack Sabre Jr. Jay Lethal he's a seasoned vet. He possibly one of the best first generation wrestlers in the world.
The best.
He
says. It's his gimmick.
It's not as good on the t-shirt, possibly.
Yeah, no, right.
He's fantastic, and Zack Sabre Jr. He's been so exposed in the last year of exactly how technically he's a genius. So these guys are really going to kind of push each other to their physical limit.
I think Zack's the smartest, perhaps the smartest wrestler on the planet, both intellectually. Because he's such a smart guy. If you ever had a conversation with him, for 5 minutes,
absolutely,
you can talk about anything with him. But we won't go into that now. But he's also the smartest in terms of what he does. He doesn't go out there and do a million dangerous flips that are gonna, probably shorten his career. Impressive, yes, but probably shorten his career. He doesn't do that. He doesn't go out and take, weapon shots to the face or this or this or this. He's a very smart worker. And
speaking of technical as well, this is technical and hard hitting. This is a match that you say that might be the sleeper of the night. Obviously, there are loads of matches that are grabbing headlines. I think Will Ospreay versus Rey Mysterio is probably the most high profile match because this is Rey Mysterio. Will Ospreay.
First time ever as well.
Exactly.
Dream matches don't happen too often. these days. So.
But genuinely, for me, I think one of the ones I'm looking forward to the most is Mike Bailey versus Travis Banks. Like, I mean, yeah.
Look at that face.
We're talking about dudes who kick each other for a living. I think both guys I think are fans of each other's work, which is always great. You always want to see guys work together who are fans of each other. And I think Mike Bailey's already put on some of the matches of the tournament so far. And again, Travis Banks is fantastic. So for me, just like a meeting of two supremely talented strikers means that has to be in contention for match of the night.
And then one of them's going to face Will Ray.
Yeah,
and, it's just amazing. Not
to discount Travis whatsoever, but I feel like we've talked about him a bit. Obviously, I wasn't at the qualifiers where Mike got through. I watched a video, I think today, of I think it's like the top 20 moves of Mike Bailey on YouTube, and I went from that should be a good match to I think this might be the match that people are going to be talking about a lot more than what they realise, because you mentioned obviously the kicks, and also some of Mike's high flying stuff is a joy to watch.
Yeah, really is.
Like the amount of different in the top 20 moves. Not to push this video too much.
No.
The amount of varying shooting star presses that he hit, I just loved it.
The shooting star knee drop.
Yes,
his finisher. Yeah,
it's gorgeous.
The shooting star knee drop, which looks brutal.
Yeah,
sure it is.
Which, as it should, obviously. But
I think Travis would expect nothing less.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, I got really excited for that, and then genuinely. I'm not sure this is me doing my job badly or not, but I'm going to mention it anyway. When I was writing this up for us to talk about it, I suddenly went, "Oh, it's Angelico Ricochet." I hadn't I'd sort of had, obviously like 2 people from America and 2 people from the rest of the world have gone through, but I hadn't actually written them in the brackets yet.
We'd never discussed that being a possibility.
No,
had we even?
And I just suddenly went, "Oh wow!"
I think that's the match that I kind of think that's the one that kind of shoots off the page at you. I think Lethal and Zack Sabre Jr. It definitely has star power. I mean, definitely, but it's kind of, I think, understating just how proficient that match is going to be. Travis Banks and Mike Bailey, again, might not immediately jump out to the Western kind of
a more casual audience.
Yes.
Fans. But I don't think there's anyone who isn't hyped for Angelico Ricochet. It's their job to fly. And, they're both in their prime. They're very much aware of each other's style. They both work in Lucha Underground. I can't. Unless one of them gets a separated shoulder, I think it's going to be a dream.
I mean, if you look through the card, we said there's a lot of flying, and there is, but everything has something a little bit different. So Kushida and Kenny Williams, it's all about the force of personality of those two guys. The absolutely Back to the Future matches. What do we call it?
Battle of Hill Valley.
But there we go. Yeah. We should mark it as that.
Unfortunately, that was already taken by someone on Twitter.
Oh, that's a shame.
I'd love to claim as my own.
It's very good, whoever you were on the Twitter machine. Lethal and Zack, we've talked about, proficient. I think that was the word, and absolutely. Lucky Kid Takahashi, you've got this evil man against this complete underdog.
Yes.
And it's a battle. It's a pure good versus evil battle.
Yep.
Something completely different to everything else. Coffey and Elgin.
Kicking the crap out of each other.
It's going to be
big
war.
Brutes beating the crap out of each other is what it is. And Angelico and Ricochet, they're going to fly. Bones and Penta, it'll be the end of the building, I think. Because for anyone who's not familiar with Bones or Penta, this is probably the closest to anything that'll be ECW-like, I would say, but even more beyond that. Ospreay versus Reyes, this is a huge main event. First time ever, dream match, 2 of the greatest flyers of their respective generations, perhaps the 2 greatest. And then Bailey Banks, 2 guys who are very familiar with Japanese style, strong style wrestling. Bailey works in Japan. He's flying over from DDT in Japan to be in the tournament. And yet something that people might not be expecting anything from this if they haven't really seen the guys, but I think once they've seen it, it's something else. So, when you look at that, it's completely different every single match.
Yeah, that's a great rundown. It's just going to be an amazing night.
Which one are you looking forward to? Both of you. Which one match? one match, though. If you have to be on the spot, which one are you going to miss? I'm not going to miss.
Ospreay Mysterio. As much
even after everything you said about the others.
No, don't get me wrong. Like those matches are like, I think every match on the card has the potential to be the sleeper hit of the night, which is not something you can say about most wrestling cards. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't hyped to see Ospreay versus Mysterio the most, just because, like you say, it's a dream match.
Yeah, right. Give me a different one.
I was going to say, I can't say that now, can I?
No,
Even though I reacted with the live draw exactly the same as everyone else on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and what have you. Like you say, I kind of want to name check every single match because there's no match that I'm there going, at least I can nip to the loo during that. I don't want to. I'll wet myself probably.
Wet yourself then. Good option.
Angelico Ricochet. It was almost like the draw had happened in front of me when I realised that. So there's that. But just so it's not another high-flying flippy one, I'm going to go lethal Zack Sabre Jr. Good choice. I really am intrigued to see how those two come together in the ring. Second behind that, as an alternative to the obvious ones, Coffey Elgin.
Yeah,
Good luck, everyone.
Yeah, good luck.
Good luck to the ref in that one.
Yeah, good luck to the ring.
What about you, Mr. Dixon?
The match I'm most looking forward to, for different reasons, is Takahashi and Lucky Kid, because I want the world to see what I saw in Berlin with Lucky Kid. I want him to show what he can do on an international stage against an international superstar. And I really hope that this is his worldwide big break, because he's that good.
Yep,
I truly believe he is. So,
and not only have we got the Pro Wrestling World Cup, another thing we need to mention on this week's roundtable is the return of something that the fans have been clamouring for quite a long time. We announced it just the other day on YouTube.
Is it Reloaded?
I think it's the Great Khali.
So talk us through, first of all, how
you weren't here for Reloaded. Sorry.
How happy you two are for it to be back, and what it's been like bringing it all together again.
It's been a journey, blooming heck. We're very, very happy the load is back. Obviously, any opportunity to showcase more of our roster is good, because genuinely hugely proud of the roster that WCPW has, and hopefully the roster as it will expand after the World Cup, because I mean, once I think the world gets, like you say, gets to see the likes of Lucky Kid, I don't think they'll be wanting him to go anywhere. Same with like all of these guys. These guys are incredible. There is like sort of like an issue with Loaded coming back that I kind of would want to address, which is, and I think we have addressed it publicly since, and like it was on the front page of Bread and blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
And it has been addressed in those places as well. But a lot of people took Loaded coming back as a sort of, we won against YouTube, now the monetization's fine. I've had a lot of YouTubers DMing me saying, you guys got all your ads back? Because I haven't. And no, the monetization situation has not fully been healed. It may not. But it's simply a case of we wanted Loaded back because we felt it. It's the best thing to kind of serve the WCPW product, and we will find a way to fund it. That's and plans are being discussed as we speak. That is that really.
Yeah, it's not as simplistic perhaps as people might think in terms of the money tap's been turned back on by YouTube. It hasn't
gone back to as it was at all. It's not even close to that. But we've realised that Loaded needs to happen, and that for the sake of the product that we want to put out there and the storytelling we want to do, which probably hasn't been where it should have been the last couple of months because we haven't really had that format to do it on. So yeah, I mean, hopefully people get behind it and support it.
We were very not lucky, but like we saw an opportunity because we had these long shows. Like the last few qualifying shows have been 11 matches long, and so we saw the opportunity to not rent, like the guys twice, to not rent the building twice, and take these matches and create loaded episodes out of the matches that were in the qualifiers. that
not the matches in the qualifiers.
No, sorry, the matches that were on the same show,
yeah.
same card, and create loaded episodes out of those. So we have after the August shows, we're going to have a string of loaded episodes. Some, of course, they're going to wear on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, I believe,
so, yeah.
is episode 1, and this they're going to carry through August and September. But yeah,
I've almost felt like a sort of fan behind the scenes being part of this, because obviously I've watched WCPW, I've watched Loaded before I came to What Culture, and seeing the amount of work that's gone into, like, we'll try everything to get it back. I've really enjoyed it, and I certainly feel like I certainly appreciate it a lot more, like you say, because the fans have obviously been shouting for it for ages, and you see a lot of that in the comment sections and obviously any tweets that we send out. But it's great to see that it is coming back. But I think people need to realise that it isn't just as simple as bringing it back as people might have assumed. So I'm glad that we covered
two
that.
things to that point. Like, one, nobody reads the comments. And two, it's sometimes frustrating for us, and there's nothing you can do about this, but it's sometimes frustrating that people don't realise that the amount of effort that goes into a lot of what we do. And then people are right to criticise things they don't like, and criticise anything, really. But sometimes when all that effort goes into it and people just pick up on one tiny little thing, and it's just like, man, if only you knew, if only you could be in like the shoes of some of the people for a day, you'd maybe appreciate that sometimes things do slip through the cracks. But whatever, there's not much you can do about that.
It's made me doing how WWE should have booked. Very different.
Steeped in irony now. Right?
Yes.
So let's talk about the first Loaded that comes back, because there's some great matches on there, with massive names as well. Like you say, we've integrated this into our shows, but this isn't just like who's knocking around in the back who can have a match.
No,
with.
exactly.
Alex Gracie versus Matt Riddle.
Yep. Swords of Essex defending their tag team championships against War Machine.
Possibly, in my opinion, the biggest threat to Swords of Essex.
In terms of mass,
yes,
biggest threat to anyone in the face, aren't they?
Walking past anyone.
Got Marty Scurll versus Kyle O'Reilly, which again, to like Ring of Honor's kind of future versus like the old guard leaving Ring of Honor for pastures new. And there is a match in there as well, which it'd be wrong to reveal because it makes itself during the course of the show. And same with like the circumstances of some of these matches. You're not quite sure of the context until you watch the show. So watch the show. But it's a really great night of wrestling in front of a really hot crowd as well. Manchester is. I mean,
fantastic. Those 3 matches alone. How can you not want to watch that show? What a way to come back with. And all 3 of those matches are brilliant. Overall, it's probably going to be the strongest from an in-ring standpoint Loaded we've ever done, I would say.
Gosh, maybe, yeah.
I would think so. I don't think there's any that have been that consistent in terms of every match being so good.
And going forward, even more stuff coming. Not only, obviously, the Pro Wrestling World Cup on the 23rd, the 24th, and the 26th, but there's more announcements that have come out. Subsequently,
yeah. We've got a taping in Sheffield, our first time in Sheffield on the 25th, the day after my birthday. And then...
send in presents.
You can say as much as you want, and we're not getting you anything.
And then we also... I don't believe I'm not sure if the announcement's gone out on the channel yet, because we're recording this at a different
break
time.
it here.
We can break it here. We've got our next pay-per-view. The date for that sorted. It's going to be Stacked. People remember Stacked from last year, the crowning of a new WCPW champion. It's back this...
Say his name. He's not Voldemort.
Joseph Connors. I'm just being delicate.
I know, I understand.
But yeah, Stacked is back, and that is going to take place on August the 22nd. That is 2 days before my birthday. And that will be in Leeds, our first time in Leeds as well.
Now, we won't go into the cards just yet. We'll do that next week, I guess. But
would you like to talk about my birthday?
I would like to talk about your birthday, because you do understand what... Speaking of etiquette, and this is revenge for you here. You understand what the etiquette is amongst the boys for birthdays, right?
No. So I think in terms of getting me to the show, I probably shouldn't know.
Okay.
Oh, I'm looking forward to this now. What is it, August 24th?
You can't remember now.
It's the 20. No, it's
yes,
not.
it is. You said it was 2 days after.
I remember having a birthday once when I was on a show.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What happened?
I was bleeding afterwards.
Okay. Don't want that. Don't want that. Maybe I'll sit this one out. Don't need the general manager there, do you?
That's the very one we need the promos filmed, and that's a taping though, right?
Oh, is it? Yeah.
That's a shame. That is a shame.
Oh, good.
Hope none of the boys find out it's your birthday. I hope Elgin doesn't find out it's your birthday.
Oh, no.
Or Travis. You know, or Penta. He likes to chop as well, doesn't he? Oh, sorry, did I give something away there?
30, it's a big one as well.
30, oh, that's a extra special. That's 2 chops each. Good luck.
Thank you.
No problem. We'll get you a cake as well.
That'll definitely make up for it.
It's ointment. Avino's very good on the chest, you know.
You're going to regret this, aren't you now?
Don't want to play wrestling anymore.
Well, you will form a promotion.
We can confirm some of the talent that'll be at those shows.
Yes.
The guys, obviously, the guys going through will be at those shows, but a lot of the guys but basically, because obviously we don't know who's going through. It's very much they have to take it all up in the ring. But so the majority of the guys going through, and the majority of the guys who aren't going to go through, they've all most of them have pretty much been booked. So they're like, if you see a dream match on the round of 16, chances are you'll see a different formation of another dream match in the next few days. It's going to be very, very exciting. 5 days.
5 shows.
5 days.
5 in a row. We've done 3 in a row.
Yeah. Who's in charge of booking that stuff? Is that you?
Yeah.
5 days.
Yeah.
5 shows in a row.
I'm not sorry.
Have WWE
with
even
your
done
birthday
that
in the middle?
Of course they have.
Yeah, but with the same crew.
I mean, it's not quite the same crew.
No, it's not, is it?
It makes it more complex.
This looks horrible. This 5. So yeah, 20,
it's
20
life on the road.
22nd
Stacked.
in Leeds, stacked. 23rd, the round of 16. 24th
Milton Keynes,
in Milton Keynes. 24th, the quarterfinals and extra tapings in Manchester. And then
25th.
25th in Sheffield.
And then
That's loaded.
That's loaded. Then 26th in that's the semi-finals.
We'll
and
be
the
home
final.
then. We'll be
Oh
home.
yeah, that's fine.
And it's a bank holiday.
Well, hey, we
And
get a
it's
day
the,
off.
Well, and that night we get to watch Mayweather McGregor. So
Yes, indeed. What?
at 3 in the
5
morning.
days?
Well,
Bear in
probably more
mind-
like 5.
Well, more like 5. The week after SummerSlam, where we'll have been up late for 4 days
SummerSlam
running as
on
well.
Sunday.
So we've got NXT on the Saturday, SummerSlam on the Sunday, Raw on the Monday, SmackDown and our show on the Tuesday. Our shows for the next 4 days, and then the McGregor Mayweather fight. So it's a full week.
And his birthday.
And your birthday, Chops.
Okay, I'm just going to cancel my birthday. I don't need it. I'll have my
Stay
birthday when
29 for
when I
another
come
year.
back.
Keep an eye out on the official Twitters for details on when the general manager's Chop Fest birthday celebration will be occurring. And where.
No.
Everybody's invited.
Right, is that it? We're done.
I think that's it. I think we've covered quite enough there. The WCPW Roundtable. Thank you very much to James Dixon and to our general manager. Lots to look forward to, and we'll see you soon.